You don't realize this now, but the reason some marriages break your heart and others bring you peace has nothing to do with looks, status, or romance. It has everything to do with intention. Two people can choose each other for the same reasons, yet live completely different lives because only one of them chose Allah while the other chose the world. When you marry someone for dunya, you chase a feeling that dies. But when you marry someone for Allah, you build a connection that even death cannot break. And the truth is, the love you seek will never come from someone's beauty, wealth, or charm. It will come from the barakah that Allah places between two sincere hearts. If your intention is for Him, your marriage will feel like home. If it's for the world, it will always feel unstable, no matter how perfect it looks. Today, you're going to understand why the results are never the same. Every marriage begins before two people meet. It begins with the intention sitting quietly inside the heart. Some people walk into marriage looking for excitement, beauty, status, comfort, or validation. They look with their eyes, measure with their desires, and choose with their emotions. But others walk into marriage looking for something higher. They want a partner who brings them closer to Allah, someone who will help their soul grow, someone who understands that marriage is an act of worship before it is a relationship. And this intention becomes the invisible foundation of the entire journey. When you marry for dunya, the foundation is weak because it depends on temporary things, feelings that change, looks that fade, money that comes and goes, moods that shift. And whatever stands on a weak foundation eventually cracks. Sometimes slowly, sometimes suddenly, but it cracks. But when you marry for Allah, the foundation becomes unshakable, because you are not choosing a person only for what they can give you. You are choosing them for who they are in front of Allah. You're choosing their character, their honesty, their humility, their sincerity, their fear of Allah, their sense of responsibility, their patience, their softness, their ability to forgive, their desire to improve. A marriage for dunya starts as a dream and becomes a burden the moment reality arrives. A marriage for Allah starts with sincerity and becomes a home of mercy, barakah, and emotional safety. And the most powerful part, when you marry for Allah, you don't just receive a spouse, you receive divine help. Allah places calmness in your heart, wisdom in your decisions, and blessings in your relationship that you could never create on your own. What you intend becomes what you live. If the intention is worldly, the marriage will feel heavy. If the intention is for Allah, the marriage will feel supported, guided, and protected. This is why the intention you start with quietly decides the life you end with. There is a painful truth many people don't realize until their heart breaks. When someone marries for dunya, their love comes with conditions. It is a love that needs constant feeding. It survives only when everything is perfect. It depends on how much you give, how much you do, how good you look, how entertaining you are, how convenient you feel to them. The moment something changes your mood, your job, your appearance, or your ability, their love starts shrinking. Dunya love is fragile. It is built on as long as you make me happy, as long as you don't make mistakes, as long as life stays easy. And when life changes, this kind of love collapses like sand slipping through fingers, because it was never rooted in something stable. But love for Allah is different. When someone marries for Allah, their love is not just an emotion, it is a responsibility, a trust, and a form of ibadah. They don't love you because you're perfect. They love you because Allah sees how they treat you. Their kindness does not disappear when you're tired. Their respect does not break when you're stressed. Their patience does not vanish when life becomes heavy. Their love is not built on your performance. It is built on their sincerity with Allah. So even when life becomes messy, they stay. Even when you go through hardships, they support. Even when your weaknesses show, they understand. They don't compare you with the world because they know Allah gave you to them for a reason. They don't leave when the road becomes difficult because they see the difficulty as a test, not a sign to run. Dunya love says, "You are only good to me when you benefit me." Allah-centered love says, "I am good to you because Allah loves goodness." In dunya marriages, the heart is always scared, scared of losing, scared of being replaced, scared of not being enough, scared that love will disappear. In Allah-based marriages, the heart feels calm because when someone loves for the sake of Allah, their loyalty comes from a place that does not change. The love that comes from dunya ends when dunya changes. The love that comes from Allah lasts even when life breaks, even when time tests, even when patience is challenged, because it is tied to something eternal. This is why dunya love fades quickly. But Allah-based love grows slowly, deeply, beautifully, and lasts a lifetime. There are marriages that look flawless to the world. Beautiful wedding pictures, expensive decorations, matching outfits, public posts filled with hearts and smiles. People look at them and think, "What a perfect couple." But what the world sees is only the surface, a carefully decorated shell. Because when marriage is built for dunya, the outside becomes more important than the inside. And when the outside becomes the priority, the heart slowly suffocates. Many couples who marry for dunya try so hard to look successful that they forget to be successful. They focus on the appearance of love instead of the reality of love. They wear matching clothes, but not matching intentions. They post their smiles online but hide their emptiness at home. They show the world their happiness, but sleep at night with pain in their hearts. Dunya marriages are loud on the outside, but silent on the inside. There is noise, celebration, display, but no tranquility, no softness, no real emotional connection. They have a beautiful wedding day, but an exhausting marriage. Because dunya marriages are built like a photo. Perfect lighting, perfect angle, perfect moment, but only lasting for a few seconds. Now compare this to a marriage built for Allah. It may look simple, a small gathering, no show-off, no need for the world's applause, no obsession with impressing people. But inside that home, there is peace. There is mercy in the way they speak. There is respect in the way they disagree. There is softness in the way they handle each other's flaws. There is warmth in the way they forgive. There is a feeling of home that does not need to be posted or proven. When a marriage is for Allah, the beauty is internal, not external. It grows quietly, without noise, without show, without pressure. It grows in the early morning when they pray together. It grows in the small acts of kindness when no one is watching. It grows in the moments they choose forgiveness over ego. It grows in the nights they raise their hands and ask Allah to protect their hearts from shaitan. The saddest part of dunya marriages is this. They focus so much on impressing people who don't care that they forget to build a bond that actually matters. And the most beautiful part of Allah-centered marriages is this. They grow in secret, they deepen in silence, and they rise in value with every test they face, because their strength does not come from the world, it comes from Allah. This is why dunya marriages may look perfect, but Allah-based marriages feel perfect. The world sees their photos, but Allah sees their hearts. And in the end, the heart matters far more than the picture. Every marriage will face tests. No matter how beautiful two people are, no matter how strong their feelings begin, no matter how perfect the story looks, life will always send challenges. This is part of qadr. This is part of being human. But the difference between a dunya marriage and an Allah-centered marriage is how they see those challenges. When someone marries for dunya, every difficulty feels like a threat. A small misunderstanding becomes a war. A stressful day becomes a reason to blame each other. A financial problem becomes a sign that maybe this was a mistake. The moment life stops being easy, their patience disappears. Because dunya marriages survive only when everything is comfortable. The moment the comfort breaks, the relationship weakens. But when someone marries for Allah, they see hardships through a different lens. They know that every test carries a lesson. Every problem carries a hidden mercy. Every argument carries a chance to grow. Every painful moment carries a door toward reward and forgiveness. They don't ask, "Why is this happening to us?" They ask, "How can we handle this in a way that pleases Allah?" When you marry for dunya, a hardship looks like a wall. When you marry for Allah, a hardship looks like a bridge toward patience, a bridge towards maturity, a bridge towards better communication, a bridge toward becoming kinder, calmer, softer. Allah-centered couples know that shaitan attacks marriages more than anything else, not because the couple is weak, but because the bond is sacred. So instead of fighting each other, they fight shaitan together. Instead of letting anger grow, they remind each other to breathe, to pray, to pause, to forgive. Their mindset is different. A dunya couple says, "This problem is breaking us." An Allah-centered couple says, "This problem will shape us." A dunya couple says, "This is too hard." An Allah-centered couple says, "Allah will make a way." A dunya couple fights to win. An Allah-centered couple fights to stay together. And the most beautiful truth is this: when you marry for Allah, every hardship becomes a reward. Every patience becomes a blessing. Every difficult moment becomes a chance to earn Jannah together. The problem that breaks a dunya marriage is the same problem that strengthens an Allah-based marriage, because one sees pain as punishment and the other sees pain as purification. This is why marriages built for dunya fall apart under pressure, but marriages built for Allah rise higher through every test. One of the biggest differences between a marriage built for dunya and a marriage built for Allah is the expectation inside the relationship. When someone marries for dunya, they walk into marriage believing their partner should already be perfect. They expect flawless behavior, flawless patience, flawless communication, flawless emotions. And when they don't get that perfection, they become disappointed, irritated, and cold. Dunya marriages carry silent pressure. Why aren't you always calm? Why don't you always understand me? Why aren't you who I imagined? These expectations create distance, not closeness. They make the relationship feel like a test you must pass, not a place where you belong. But when someone marries for Allah, the expectation changes completely. They don't expect perfection, they expect effort. They don't demand flawless character, they support growth. They understand that both hearts are still learning, still healing, still developing, still trying to become better versions of themselves. Allah-centered marriages allow the human side to exist. They allow mistakes. They allow bad days. They allow room to breathe. They allow space to learn. Two people grow side by side instead of trying to impress each other. They don't say, "If you change, I will love you." They say, "Let's change together for the sake of Allah." In dunya-based marriages, flaws become weapons. A mistake becomes a reason to criticize. A weakness becomes a reason to judge. An emotional moment becomes a reason to pull away. In Allah-based marriages, flaws become opportunities. A mistake becomes a chance to forgive. A weakness becomes a chance to support. A moment of pain becomes a chance to show mercy. This kind of marriage does not break under imperfections, it grows because of them. Because both partners understand that they are not marrying an angel. They are marrying a human soul with history, emotions, fears, and wounds. Dunya marriages look for someone who already has everything. Allah-centered marriages look for someone who wants to build everything together. The dunya couple says, "You must be perfect for me." The Allah-centered couple says, "Let's help each other become better for Allah." And this difference changes everything. When you marry for dunya, every flaw feels like a disappointment. When you marry for Allah, every flaw becomes a step toward becoming more patient, more mature, and more compassionate. A perfection-based marriage is fragile. A growth-based marriage is strong, because perfection breaks under pressure, but growth expands under pressure. This is why marriages built for dunya often break down when imperfections appear, but marriages built for Allah become more beautiful as two souls grow together. A marriage built for dunya often has one goal: to show the world something. Show happiness, show beauty, show wealth, show togetherness, show that the couple is perfect. Everything becomes a performance. Every moment must be captured. Every celebration must be displayed. Every blessing must be broadcasted. And the sad truth is, the louder the marriage looks on the outside, often the quieter the hearts become on the inside. Because when the world becomes part of your relationship, privacy disappears, pressure grows, jealousy increases, comparison enters, ego rises. The marriage becomes heavy because it is being carried for an audience. Dunya marriages are often full of noise, talking too much to strangers about the relationship, sharing problems outside the home, seeking validation from people who don't care, showing emotions to be seen, not to be healed. This noise creates cracks. Couples stop listening to each other because they're too busy listening to the world. They stop enjoying small moments because they're too focused on proving something. But Allah-centered marriages feel completely different. They are rich in silence, not noise. They are rooted in privacy, not display. They are protected by discretion, not public opinion. These marriages don't need the spotlight. They don't need the world's applause. They don't need social media to confirm their happiness. Their love grows in hidden places, in whispered du'as at night, in quiet acts of kindness no one sees, in peaceful conversations, in private apologies, in shared prayers, in protected boundaries. They understand that blessings grow when they are hidden. Barakah grows when it is silent. Love becomes deeper when it is shared only between the two hearts, not the entire world. Allah-centered couples know something very important. Not everyone needs to know your joy. Not everyone deserves to witness your blessings. Not everyone should have access to your peace. Because the more private a blessing is, the more Allah protects it. And the more public a blessing becomes, the more it can attract envy, pressure, and unnecessary eyes. Dunya marriages focus on looking good. Allah-centered marriages focus on being good. And the difference is huge. One shines on the outside, but struggles on the inside. The other shines on the inside even if the outside looks simple or quiet. In the end, the loud marriage may win attention, but the quiet marriage wins tranquility. And tranquility, Sakina, is a gift that Allah places only in marriages built for Him. One of the biggest differences between marrying for dunya and marrying for Allah is what leads the relationship from the inside. In dunya marriages, ego sits in the front seat. Every conversation, every argument, every decision passes through the lens of me, my pride, my feelings, my needs, my way, my pain. In these marriages, nobody wants to bend. Nobody wants to apologize first. Nobody wants to admit they could be wrong. Nobody wants to let go of the last word. Everyone is trying to win, and when two people try to win, both lose. Ego makes small issues feel huge. A simple comment becomes disrespect. A small mistake becomes betrayal. A bad day becomes a disaster. Every disagreement becomes a battle of superiority, not a moment of understanding. Ego makes love conditional. I will be kind if you are kind. I will listen if you listen. I will give if you give first. This pattern slowly drains the relationship. It creates emotional distance, resentment, and coldness. The marriage becomes a competition between two hearts instead of a safe space for both hearts. But an Allah-centered marriage operates differently, completely differently. In such a marriage, mercy leads, tenderness leads, Forgiveness leads, humility leads, thoughtfulness leads. These couples understand that marriage is not two people trying to dominate each other. It is two people trying to soften each other. When one becomes angry, the other chooses calm. When one becomes emotional, the other chooses patience. When one speaks sharply, the other lowers their tone. When one makes a mistake, the other forgives. Not because they are weak, but because they fear losing Allah's mercy far more than they fear losing an argument. They care more about the relationship than their pride. They care more about peace than being right. They care more about healing than winning. They care more about pleasing Allah than hurting each other. When mercy leads, the home feels light. Conversations feel easier. Arguments feel shorter. Healing feels quicker. Apologies feel sincere. Forgiveness feels natural. And the most beautiful part, when you show mercy to your spouse, Allah shows mercy to you. When you forgive them, Allah forgives you. When you let something go, Allah lets many things go for you. When you lower your ego, Allah raises your status. Imagine a home where both hearts live with this awareness. Imagine a marriage where both partners pause before reacting, remembering that Allah is watching. Imagine a bond where both are more committed to kindness than victory. That marriage becomes unbreakable, not because there are no problems, but because there is always more mercy than ego. A dunya marriage is powered by pride, and pride burns everything it touches. An Allah-centered marriage is powered by mercy, and mercy heals everything it reaches. Many people get married thinking they only need someone to live with, someone to talk to, someone to come home to, someone to build a life with. But when you marry for dunya, that is exactly what you receive. A partner for this world only. Someone to share days with, someone to share moments with, someone whose presence lasts only as long as the dunya lasts. But when you marry for Allah, you receive something much deeper, a sacred companion, a spiritual teammate, a soul that walks with you not just in this world, but toward the next. You don't just share a house, you share a purpose. You don't just share conversations, you share dua. You don't just share a bed, you share ibadah. You don't just build a life, you build a path toward Jannah. A dunya marriage focuses on comfort. An Allah-centered marriage focuses on elevation. In dunya marriages, couples often use their energy to entertain each other. In Allah-centered marriages, they use their energy to strengthen each other. The difference is huge. A dunya spouse reminds you of your desires. An Allah-centered spouse reminds you of your priorities. A dunya spouse motivates your worldly goals. An Allah-centered spouse motivates your spiritual goals. A dunya spouse makes you smile. An Allah-centered spouse makes you better. This is why a marriage built for Allah feels different. When you lose focus, they gently pull you back. When you feel weak, they remind you of the bigger picture. When your heart slips, they help it rise. When you forget who you are, they remind you who Allah created you to be. Such a spouse becomes a mirror, showing you your strengths, reflecting your weaknesses, guiding you toward your best self, while holding your hand through every struggle. And the most beautiful part? Allah places special barakah between two hearts that help each other reach Him. Their home becomes a place where angels visit. Their conversations bring peace. Their efforts bring rewards. Their love becomes a type of worship. Imagine standing on the day of judgment and seeing your spouse beside you, not as a person who shared your house, but as a person who helped save your soul. Imagine both of you entering Jannah together, looking back and realizing that every hardship you faced, every sacrifice you made, every argument you solved with patience, every prayer you performed together, all of it brought you here. This is the difference. A dunya marriage ends with death. An Allah-centered marriage begins again in Jannah. A dunya spouse holds your hand in this world. An Allah-centered spouse holds your heart in both worlds. When you marry for dunya, you gain temporary companionship. When you marry for Allah, you gain a life partner, a heart partner, and an eternal partner. This is why the results are never the same. One of the greatest differences between a dunya marriage and an Allah-centered marriage is where the protection comes from. A marriage built for dunya depends on worldly things to survive. Money must always be stable. Emotions must always be perfect. Health must always be good. Circumstances must always be easy. And when any one of these changes, the marriage begins to shake. Because dunya marriages are held together by conditions, not divine protection. When a marriage is built for dunya, the smallest storm can break the home. A financial problem can create blame. A difficult phase can create distance. A misunderstanding can create distrust. A disagreement can create resentment. A stressful time can create coldness. Why? Because the foundation is human, not divine. The strength comes from the couple, not from the one who created the couple. But a marriage built for Allah is different. It is protected by the one who never weakens, never changes, never leaves, and never loses power. When you marry with sincerity, Allah Himself guards your relationship the same way. He guards your risk, your soul, your destiny. Allah protects the love in the hearts. He protects the respect between you. He protects the softness in your speech. He protects the calmness in your home. He protects you from shaitan's whispers that destroy relationships. He protects you from the negativity of others. He protects you from misunderstandings that could have created damage. Even when things go wrong, and they will, Allah turns the wrong into a lesson instead of a reason to fall apart. He turns arguments into understanding. He turns mistakes into growth. He turns pain into closeness. He turns fear into trust. He turns difficulties into points of reward. This is a special kind of protection, one that dunya marriages never experience. Sometimes, Allah protects your marriage by removing things from your life. He removes people who bring jealousy. He removes voices that bring doubt. He removes distractions that weaken your connection. He removes situations that would harm your bond. Sometimes He protects your marriage by protecting times you asterisk. He calms your anger before it becomes harsh words. He softens your heart before resentment forms. He gives you patience when your emotions want to explode. He gives you wisdom when your ego wants to take over. And sometimes Allah protects your marriage by shaking it, not to break it, but to wake you, to remind you, to strengthen you, to bring you back to Him. In dunya marriages, the couple protects the relationship. In Allah-centered marriages, Allah protects the couple. And when Allah protects something, no person, no test, no hardship, no season can destroy it. A dunya marriage needs perfect conditions to survive. An Allah-centered marriage survives, even in imperfect conditions, because its strength does not come from this world. This is why couples who marry for dunya often feel insecure, always scared of losing each other. But couples who marry for Allah walk with a quiet confidence, because they know their relationship is in the hands of the one who writes the happiest endings. When you compare a marriage built for dunya with a marriage built for Allah, you start to see that they are not just different, they are worlds apart. They may look similar at the beginning. Two people meet, two people talk, two families come together. A wedding happens, a home is created. But the journey that follows is completely different depending on what intention lies quietly in the heart. A dunya marriage gives you excitement, but the excitement doesn't last. It gives you fun, but not fulfillment. It gives you moments, but not meaning. It gives you a partner for the good days, but not a companion for the difficult nights. It gives you romance, but not peace. It gives you attachment, but not depth. It gives you a house, but not a home. Everything in a dunya marriage depends on how much the world can give, and this world never gives enough. Looks fade, feelings change, circumstances shift. Money flows and stops. People grow in different directions. Problems appear out of nowhere. And when the marriage was built only on worldly things, these changes feel like earthquakes. The relationship becomes fragile, unstable, weak, and tired. The couple begins to wonder where the happiness went, not realizing that happiness tied to dunya will always be temporary. But an Allah-centered marriage gives you something dunya never can. Stability of the heart. It may not be loud, it may not be glamorous, it may not be perfect, but it is times real. It grows even in silence. It deepens even during tests. It strengthens even when life becomes heavy. It softens even when the world feels hard. A marriage built for Allah gives you a partner who prays for you, a soul who reminds you of your purpose, a friend who encourages your best self, a companion who holds your hand through every hardship, a heart that forgives you more than it blames you, a personality that cares more about the relationship than about ego, and a love that stays even when feelings fluctuate. It gives you peace in your home, gentleness in your speech, barakah in your days, and emotional safety that money can never buy. This kind of marriage becomes a place where small moments carry big meaning, kindness becomes language, dua becomes a habit, patience becomes natural, and forgiveness becomes a way of life. This is the marriage that grows with you, matures with you, heals with you, and elevates you until both of you stand before Allah on the Day of Judgment, not as two people who simply lived together, but as two souls who helped each other reach Jannah. That's the difference. When you marry for dunya, you gain temporary love. When you marry for Allah, you gain eternal companionship. When you marry for dunya, the relationship lasts until life becomes difficult. When you marry for Allah, the relationship lasts until Jannah becomes the destination. When you marry for dunya, you build something that time can destroy. When you marry for Allah, you build something that even death cannot separate. This is why the results are never the same. One marriage ends in disappointment, the other ends in Jannah.